I'll still be early. What, 2 hours a day?
Yeah, that's mine too. All is mine. Okay, thanks.
I see your twin on Mayfield all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's gonna be a close one.
I think it will be.
Yeah.
It'll be good. What is it?
I was wondering if does anyone know how to find this director's wife is doing?
I haven't heard, he called in,
Have you had any
um,
experience with prejudgment interest?
helping the two
Not
ladies.
for a
the two
long
friends.
time,
And he was supposed to come in this Thursday. so
motions
he won't be in.
after trials. It's been
I don't think things are all that.
prejudgment
Yeah.
interest,
Yeah.
which I had to oppose. I am successful. Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon. Call to order the meeting for the Charter Review Committee for April 29th, 2014. I'd like for us to stand and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll have the roll call.
Dude, where'd that clock go? It's been
Yeah,
gone
yeah,
a couple weeks.
It's been disappeared on us, so.
Danielle Cadu. Here. Stephanie Douglas. Here. Tyrone Drummer.
Here.
Donald Houston. Elliot Eisenberg. Stanley Jocelyn. Arnetta Parker. Here. Shadina Williams. Oh, I'm sorry. This was a meeting, I'm sorry, this was a meeting that you were excused, so you weren't in the top. I'm sorry. Dwayne Crocker.
We have
Here.
3 excused absence. Donald, unfortunately, he had a death in his family. Elliot, he is presently out of town. And Shadina, she had an emergency this evening. So they will not be attending the meeting today. Our minutes.
Mr. Chairman, can I read it for a minute? We haven't normally done this, but I've been wanting to interject it each time. That is, as a matter of custom, it's oftentimes just good form in terms of relationship with other members to pass a motion to excuse those that aren't there. And I think you've got 4 of it on tonight.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of sort of courtesy. You're not required to do that, but acting in sort of a parliamentary capacity, I would feel comfortable if going forward you did that on a regular basis, so that as a courtesy, because you all respect each other. That's what it
Thank
Is
you.
that how we come across?
is. Not really.
We've
Well
done it
noted,
before,
well
but
noted.
yeah.
Yeah,
We've done it before.
Well noted. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I know.
All right, so, and does that include Stanley Johnson?
Yes. Our minutes from,
Do I need to explain?
yes.
I know how you all love to hear my melodious voice reading the minutes. However, out of my normal practice, I didn't have my book last week, so I wrote the minutes on a sheet of paper, which I misplaced. So therefore, I would move that the video recording of the April 22nd, 2014 Charter Review Committee be it entered and approved as the official minutes for that meeting.
Is there a motion?
Moved.
So first and second, that the meetings be approved as read from the video of April the 22nd, 2014. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Today, we don't have a guest that's going to be here with us today. So today we'll have Ms. Annette Parker to begin reviewing Article
We start with 13.
Article 13 and Article 13, 14,
15,
15, and 16.
16.
So Arnett, if you would like to start.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So, Article 13, which begins on page 32. Section 1, indexing. I do have some questions, some items of interest, not quite concerns, regarding the indexing, but I want to skip and come back to that at a later date. It's kind of detailed and more of a housekeeping item than an issue. My next assigned section is Article 13, Section 2, Amendments. And I'm going to read that, and I don't even know where to begin with the questions that I have on this section. I'm on page 32, Article 13, Section 2, Amendments. And it reads thusly: Council may, by affirmative vote of 5 of its members, submit to the electors any proposed amendment to this charter, or upon petition signed by not less than 10% of the electors of the municipality setting forth any proposed amendment to this charter, council shall submit such proposed amendment to the electors in accordance, in each instance, with the provisions of the Constitution of Ohio. If any such amendment is approved by a majority of the electors voting thereon, it shall become part of this charter, except if 2 or more inconsistent proposed amendments on the same subject be submitted at the same election. Only the one of such amendments receiving the largest affirmative vote, not less than a majority, shall become a part of this charter. Now, I'm going to, I don't know if I should ask the questions that I have. I think I'm going to ask Law Director Hunt if he would be so kind as to kind of walk us or me through this particular section. There's a lot there.
Okay. Well, first of all, this provision, Section 2, is extremely common in charters. There are 2 methods to amend the charter, one being through the Charter Review Committee, which submits amendments to the council, which council must put on the ballot. And the other option is for there are 3 ways actually. Council can put a measure on the ballot for a charter, and a supermajority vote is deemed to be necessary, I guess, for that type of thing, or advisable. Now, that's pretty common in charters, that you have a supermajority rather than a simple majority. So that's why it says 5 members of the council. And then the third way is, of course, upon a petition signed by electors in the community, submitted to council, and council has is required then to put it on the ballot, as of course they are for the Charter Review Committee. 10% is pretty common from my experience of the electors. It's not an enormous amount, but it's pretty common in charters from what I have seen. Of course, the electors, when the petition comes in, the clerk of the council will submit that to the Board of Elections to make sure everyone who has signed the petition is a current elector, and that the petition has enough signatures to then forward it on to go on the ballot. And that's required by the Ohio Constitution. You have to have a mechanism for citizens to petition the government to change certain things, whether it's the charter or an ordinance. And then the last provision is oftentimes you will see conflicting charter provisions, not often, but occasionally, I should say, that go on the ballot. In other words, there's a group of citizens that want to put something on the ballot. They get the 10% requisite number. It must go on the ballot. And city council may say, okay, we want to put an opposing provision on the ballot. And so in that situation, the one that gets the most votes, but it has to be a majority of the votes cast to actually go in the charter. Otherwise, neither one will go in the charter. So that's what that all means.
So, okay, I'm so glad you clarified that, because I saw the two methods. I didn't see the third. I thought the vote by the majority or by the supermajority of the council was in addition to the 10%. So
No.
that is three separate mechanisms.
Three separate mechanisms, correct.
And the 10% of the electors based on the records from the County Board of Election, that's per registered voters of the 10% of the registered voters in
Right.
this municipality.
It is not the number of voters at the last election, which is a common provision in referendum or initiative, which is to do an ordinance of the city. So it's just those registered voters.
So when we see on a typical ballot, well, not a typical ballot, but when we see on a ballot two items for an issue, one is to vote yes and one is to vote no, this would be the case of the opposing, well, how am I reading?
Not necessarily.
Not
You'll have a
necessarily.
yes and no on each of the
That's right, you will
provisions,
have it, that's right.
but they may be conflicting, those provisions.
And in the question, thank you so much for clarifying that. So if, in this case, there are no date guidelines as there are with the Charter Review Committee, this can be done at any election, primary or general?
Yes.
Okay. And there's also no specified timelines for receiving or meeting these qualifications to put on the ballot. Okay, that clears it up quite a bit. Thank you so much. The next section that I was assigned was the Charter Review Committee section, which is the reason that we're all here. I didn't have any particular questions on this. It's pretty cut and dry. I think most of us read this because we had to understand what our guidelines were. So I don't know if, should I read this section, or do I need to read this or go through it, or?
I just have a comment on, to the committee. Just to reiterate our August 6th deadline, and that we should start looking into different parts of the charter to start making a hard copy of any suggested amendments that we would be looking for in the charter. And I'll explain more after you go through your articles.
So your only comment is that we should be aware of our deadline
Our
date?
deadline, our deadline, August the 6th. And I'll elaborate more later after you complete your.
The next section, or the next article, the 15, which is miscellaneous provisions. I also went through these sections. There was nothing here that had been previously revised or amended. And in my review, I didn't see anything that raised any questions or issues or concerns or need for change.
I didn't have any.
Okay. And that would be sections 1 through 6. But I was wondering, there was an earlier discussion regarding gender-specific language, and there was some discussion on where, if that was one of the changes that was proposed, rather than changing every place where there was gender-specific language, that it could be possible that we add a new section to the miscellaneous provision for gender-specific language in previous documentation or previous charter locations. Just a thought, if this would be a proper place for it.
I thought they said it was gonna be at the front.
Okay, maybe
Article 3, number 3. They were gonna make a number 3 under formal government powers.
Oh, okay, so then it would be Article 3, Section 3?
Yeah, there will be a number 3 under.
Number three.
I can go
Yes,
back
she
to
has
minutes,
that
but I
in
think
her
that's
Oh,
what they.
okay,
Yeah,
then I
she has
apologize,
that.
I'm going by my,
No,
Yeah,
no,
going
it's
by-
good.
I think it was before you started.
Yeah.
because I did review.
Yeah, it was real early on.
Okay, because I did review a few other charters and they had a specific add, like an add-on at the end.
Yep. And I
Now-
wanna say Article 3, so to make a new section 3.
So,
Oh, actually, yeah, wait, somebody did say that, because I wrote this a long time ago, so they did say something about
Right, we don't
adding something here.
Okay.
In your, no,
so you had the same note.
yeah, Article 15, Section 4, we had discussed it at some point of the gender neutral clause being inserted here.
Right, and then they said, rather than.
And then they said at the beginning?
At the beginning.
Okay.
I'll try. But yeah, we just.
Well, was that a decision or part of the discussion?
Just
Part of the discussion, it's part of the discussion.
All of it's part of the discussion.
Okay, discussion, yeah, and just suggested it go there.
Now, do you want me to go back to the indexing or do you want to wait until a later date?
Why don't we wait till that, okay, appreciate it.
Thank you.
One of the reasons I asked Arnetta to just review Article 13, Article 14 was to just reiterate what the Charter Review Committee, responsibility is that to at least meet that deadline of August the 6th. So with a lot of our interviewing candidates being completed, I'll ask, I'm going to ask Stephanie if you can go through the notes and all of our interviewees that sat at the table to us, any suggestions that they had to the charter, being that it was amendment, being that it stand as is, just write it out exactly if they wanted to suit the majority, you don't have to put their names on it. What we're going to try to start doing is building, compiling a list of any suggestions or any amendments, or just that the charter stay as it is. And then based on the committee, we'll start building our list individually, and even if we cross over to each other's area, it'll be okay. And so that August 6th deadline is going to come pretty soon to us. We're already at April 29th. So I think if we could have the committee to bring their suggestions or amended to our, I'll say to at least the 13th, should be May 13th. And Stephanie, I don't know if you can compile yours for next week, or next week meeting. And it doesn't have to be in long sentence, just be, we just use the words majority, majority of 5, it's a super majority. Whatever each person said, the directors, the council. Okay?
So you're saying bring all of our suggestions?
Just start compiling them, and we'll just start adding on them, and then probably start putting together priority lists. It could be 1, 2, and 3, put some in the parking lot, some we want to revisit, and just start building from there. And the suggestions that we make for amendments, we should have, each of us should really have a reason of how it's going to better, you know, the community, the people of the community, and the mayor-council relationship.
Okay. So who's left for us
To interview,
to interview?
Mayor Headen.
Mayor?
Mayor Headen. I did send a letter, I received a return letter from Mayor, from the former David Persick, informing us that he will not be able to, he says, thank you for the invitation, however, I will not be able to attend. So,
Okay.
and he did CC David Roach, council president, and Todd Hunt. I think he sent this letter to you.
I got it
Okay.
today.
So are there any other council members or?
We sent letters to Councilperson Alexander, also Eloise Henry, and speaking to each individual. Eloise was going to be in attendance last week. She did not show up, so I think that we've reached out and we should move forward with looking into the charter and trying to compile our list.
Okay.
Mayor Headen has informed us that she will attend our meeting next week, which I think is what, May 2nd? May 6th.
What is Alexander? No response?
No response. No response, no, exactly.
So, I have a question. So upon our completion, would it be appropriate to extend a letter of thanks to the people who did accept and
Yes.
attend?
Yes.
Most definitely.
Yes.
Take time out of
Thank you.
their busy schedule, and it's very informative to help us move forward. Or acknowledge that they could or could not maybe.
So, all right, the staff, the directors, the fire chief, all the Richmond Heights staff, we did sit down and have an interview with our council. Again, Mark Alexander did respond back, Ms. Eloise Henry did not attend. So I think this point forward, we should move forward with our agenda as far as the charter, and each individual that has a section should start being the champion of that section. But we'll all continue to read the charter as a whole. So let's start building our list, and we'll start start putting them in some type of chronological order. Are there any suggestions or any directions that anyone would like to bring to the table?
Well, how do you want to do it? Should we, do a brainstorming kind of thing, or should we list out our thoughts and share them around the table in written form, or just discuss them?
I would like to see where we bring on a hard copy. And then I think a good brainstorm would be if we could, build, like some paper, I don't know if we could paper on the wall, or we get easels, or we get easel, yeah, here, we have some paper right here, so we can start right here putting up all the wish list that we want for the amendments. And then from there, we can brainstorm on what would be important to the city as a committee.
Okay.
Did we have maybe I missed this in a previous meeting, did we have a list of which of the committee had which sections?
Yes.
'Cause,
Oh, you weren't here.
yeah, Mary come lately.
That's okay, that's okay. I have a copy for you.
Here, I wrote it down here.
No, I have a copy.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Oh, great. I'll just make a quick note here, because I don't want to take your copy.
No, I have another copy,
Oh,
right?
you-
Yes,
oh, this is
that was an extra.
probably.
Yes, your copy.
Okay, thank you.
And if someone feels as though they want to team up with someone, I'm available. I guess Annette, you'll be
Yeah,
available.
I think I got the easy part, and some people here, I mean, it's not easy, don't get me wrong. I couldn't even get through a paragraph without the help of the law director. So, if someone else has some that they need some help with, then I can.
And I'll also volunteer to help. I mean, I'll be reading the charter and putting a list of any amendments that I have, or putting together any items that I would see that might need to go in the charter and try to put together a reason why. So I think that would be something that we all should start striving for. So once we get into May, we should have an idea of where we are. If we have a list of 100 things, we have to start pushing items to the side. If we have an item of 10, we have to start pushing to the side and bring it. But it's up to the charter, our charter committee, to decide what items we want to put on and how many.
And August 6th that's the date we have to have it developed and
In the hands of city council.
in the
You
hands
have
of.
to have the exact wording that will be in the charter if adopted. Now,
Oh,
Okay, so.
I
see.
would like to
So
have,
that- yeah.
So,
That's
I would
different.
like to have a couple of weeks to help you wordsmith it, at least, but.
So I did.
So it's before the
Before the
6th.
next.
Before the 6th, well,
Yeah.
let's go back. So July 1st,
There you go.
we should be putting wording to we should have how many amendments that we're asking. And then we should ask Todd, the law director, David, to wording to our amendments so it can be presented to council, to be presented on the ballot. So the first week of July, we should be at that point. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. So each week, we must move forward with our information. And the other part I wanted to bring to the committee, this is going to be a collective, it'll be collectively, we'll decide that should be for an amendment to be placed on the ballot. 6 date. So we basically have the month of May and the month of June to put those agendas together. And I think almost positive we can do that. Any questions or any more? Deadlines too restrictive, deadlines should be on target. We should maybe make that target, right? I think we should.
Is-
I think we
If needed, would it be possible, somewhere in that timeline, we're dealing with, or certain for most of us, we're dealing with a vacation here or not here or there.
Mhm.
We have the July 4th holiday weekend, which is, it's on a Friday. Right, so we want to factor in our long holiday weekends. Is it possible that one of our meetings could be and I don't know if this is, if we have to keep it to an hour, is it possible that we can have at least 1 2-hour meeting if necessary? If that comes to
I think on
necessity?
Tuesday, the council, they meets right behind us, right?
Every Tuesday except the fifth Tuesday, which is today. There's
Today.
no council
There's
meeting
no council
today.
meeting.
There's either a committee meeting or, well, there's always a committee meeting at 7:30. So
Okay.
we can find someplace else to meet,
Mhm.
either in City Hall, at the fire station.
Okay. Will we still have access to an easel?
Oh, sure, we can do that. It's
if
really-
necessary.
If necessary.
If necessary, because I'd hate to see us squeeze everything into a
And you can-
1-hour meeting and we're up against a deadline and we have to wait another whole week. So if.
Committee meeting nights, when there's not a regular meeting, you can meet in the council chambers. And you can set up a table around and meet around.
And on that note, I will have a vacation or a list for May and June. So all committee members can, we can fill it out, which person will be who won't be in attendance for certain weeks. And we should make sure we have 5 people in attendance to quorum.
Yeah, that is right, because Mr. Chair and I both have grandparent runs to make.
Yeah, the same week.
The same week. Different cities.
Yeah, different cities, the same week. Absolutely. Okay. Are there any other questions or?
Okay, well, again, I will reiterate, you gave me a section I know absolutely nothing about, so.
You're
You
especially
can do it by
qualified.
yourself.
You're qualified.
Let's see where you at. Let's see where you at, Danielle. Which section are you in?
They say ignorance is no excuse for it.
Article 6.
See, Article 6.
Section 6, Civil Service Commission, the Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Recreation Board. Where we started.
Okay, Danielle have Article 6, Section 6 through 9. That's your-
Page 20.
Page 20.
Page 20. Page 20. Section, let's see. 6 through 9, okay. Would you like to divide this up, Danielle, between?
No, I'm saying that if there were individuals who offered to, help go through it, I would gladly accept their help in trying to decipher all this. I mean,
We have the whole
I don't
committee
even, I see there's a Civil Service Commission, but how do you know who's on it? Where do you go for that?
The mayor makes those appointments.
But are there people on it now?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Mhm.
sure.
how often are people appointed?
Well, it's every 6 years. They have 6-year terms. They're staggered.
It's in the charter.
And,
It's there.
you know, those appointments are approved by, mayor's appointments are approved by council. There's legislation that documents who was appointed when and what their terms are. So the mayor can get that information for you, or I would say the clerk too, through the resolutions for those people. But we do have 3 members. We've always had 3. They are fairly active. Dwayne, I think, had some interface with them on the firefighter, the 3 new firefighters that were appointed.
I've met a couple, but that's it, yeah.
And this type of regimen, civil service, whether you call it civil service or not, is required by the Ohio Constitution. So we have to have some of our employees that are hired because of merit and do not serve at the pleasure. They serve as long as they perform and don't violate the civil service rules and regulations. It gives them a property right in their public employment, according to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah, would you like to go over some of these sections right now?
I'm gonna ask a question on page 21, under duties, the second paragraph. Rules or regulations of the state of Ohio, the rule, regulation, order, or decision of the Richmond Heights Civil Service Commission shall prevail over and render null and void the state provision
Correct.
with respect to the city of Richmond Heights? Is that common in cities to do that?
Common in charter cities to do that. The Supreme Court of Ohio has said that you should have a provision like this in your charter if you want to deviate from state statute with regard to civil service. I'm trying to think of areas where we may deviate. One of them being that we have taken some people out of the classified service. As you can see in the first part of section 6 under classified service, we have a whole group of people listed here who are not in civil service. And we take some people out that otherwise might be in the civil service. I suppose other examples are state law. I think now is choice of the top 5 candidates. I think we may be still at top 3. I'd have to look. The mayor has a choice of the top 3 candidates. I'll have to look at that, though. I'm not sure. Well, original appointments, police officer, maybe firefighter too. So we do have a few deviations, and where we're silent on a rule, we have to follow state statute. One of those areas is age for appointment. Minimum age for appointment and maximum age for original appointment. We follow state law.
We might as well continue.
Thanks, Tyrone.
So, removal, do you have any comments on removal?
I see that.
Pardon me?
I said I see that. I see it all over in this charter. It makes me, I don't know. It's frustrating. Okay, so the Civil Service Commission is the 3 people appointed by the mayor with the concurrence of a majority of the members of council, okay? So a majority of the members of council have to approve of the 3 people the mayor pick, but then the mayor can suspend any commissioner for inefficiency or whatever, but needs to be finalized with the concurrence of 5 of the members of council, which is a supermajority. So to get them approved is just a majority, and to like not have them be on the commission anymore, she needs a supermajority, or the mayor needs a supermajority. So there's all kinds of, inconsistencies.
I have a question.
I don't know
I have a
what the
question
reason
on
for that is.
inconsistency. Is that norm? Is that norm for?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to look at some other charters to see.
No?
I don't think it is.
It's not norm.
But I guess I don't know what the reason is for the 5 instead of 4 for suspension. I can guess that the civil service is supposed to be, the whole purpose of civil service is to set itself apart from politics. And so the mayor has the authority to appoint, and there's only a majority approval by council, but then to the mayor's appointments, or it might be that mayor, it might be another mayor's, but then you take that person off, it requires 5, so, of council to approve it. I'm not sure that's necessary, but that may be the reason, I
If I might, that's, the supermajority section is, even applies to the recreation board. So there's, my view is there's a consistent thread throughout your charter that creates, I think at least as appears as it relates to removal, the consistent thought of the supermajority for the city council. So to me, I think the theme in this charter is really what it is. I don't think it, and I think it's certainly true what Todd is saying about the political aspect of it, but you could argue that having 5 members of city council have the authority to determine whether the mayor has a right to remove is even more political than the alternative. So it's, but there is a consistent theme throughout this charter.
Would you like to continue on, Danielle?
Yeah, I don't know too much about the planning commission. But I see the mayor appoints 5 people to be approved by a majority of council.
For the planning commission.
Yes. And
Consistent majority.
Because what it's saying is, it just takes a majority to get you in, but it takes a supermajority to get you out.
Can I ask a question, Todd, can I ask a question? Majority in other charters in cities compatible with Richmond Heights, do most charters read a majority, or do they read a supermajority? I mean, if you have a council that's 9 members, and if you have a majority that's 5 to 4, usually if there's an impulse, the president of the council breaks the impulse. Meaning
Well,
that,
president is usually one of the council members, one
Right.
of the odd numbers, so. The only time you really see a breaking of a tie is with statutory villages have 6 members of council, and the mayor acts as the 7th person and only has a vote to break a tie. So that's where you see that, in statutory villages. In some instances, I think the supermajority is important, for example, overriding a veto of the mayor, is one of them. I think probably putting issues on the charter amendments on the ballot, maybe, is a good thing. I suspect that some of the supermajorities here with respect to removal have had to do with specific situations at the time, political situations. I don't know why the Recreation Board members would have that provision when there's no provision for removal of Planning Commission members, zoning board members, et cetera. And I do know there was turmoil many years ago, over 20 years ago, with the Recreation Board. And there were some strange provisions in the charter that we have cleaned up over the years with respect to the Recreation Board.
Just for 2 cents of observation, I think the majority of charters in the state do not have supermajority language when it relates to removal. They just don't. So this, you're in the minority by having this provision in there. There's another alternative. There are many charters in the state, many, that don't require any council approval
I know, I've seen them.
for the purposes
Because
of
I go to
removal.
that codified ordinances thing, I click on all the different cities, and I look at all that stuff, and
Well, obviously,
I see that, and
there's none here for Planning Commission or Zoning Board of Appeals. There's no removal provision. So they could only be removed really after they're appointed by misfeasance, malfeasance, and then a court action to remove them.
Did we discuss this once before, and you said that can't be changed? Because it's civil service, or can it be?
No, not for Board of Commission.
Okay, we were talking about the police department.
Right.
Okay.
It can be changed, well, I think is the answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It
It
can
was
be
the
changed.
police department where you said it's like a different entity or something. So then maybe that's something we should consider as having a, I don't know.
Moving forward,
Well,
explain that to me again.
I don't know. He's saying that the planning commission doesn't have anything in there. It has where
I think so.
the mayor
Appointments. but
can appoint
removal.
5 electors approved by majority of council, but it doesn't say anything about, in here about being able to remove them.
Right.
So maybe there should be something in here allowing for the removal. What do you think?
I would say, just be specific on, writing on your hard copy, your ideals, or what do you think that should be amended to, the charter?
There are certain boards and commissions, if I may, Mr. Chairman, there are certain boards and commissions that are committed by law to perform what's known as quasi-judicial duties. In other words, they almost sit as a court judging certain things. And so they should be as independent from politics as possible to give due process to people who come before them. People come before the Zoning Board of Appeals for variances, for approval of conditional uses in our code, et cetera. And so what you don't want is politics to interfere with that person's right to ask for a variance and have a fair hearing in front of 5 people. And you don't want someone to be able to, who disagrees with the decisions of that body, to remove people and put other people in. So that's sort of the theory behind quasi-judicial appointments such as Civil Service Commission. They perform a quasi-judicial function when they have charges that are brought against a civil servant, and they have the right of appeal hearing in front of the Civil Service Commission or the Zoning Board of Appeals. And also, to some extent, the Planning Commission makes some of those types of decisions. The Recreation Board does not. They pretty much set policy for recreation. That's about it. those decisions that the zoning board makes, the civil service commission when it comes to discipline or termination of people, are immediately appealable to the common pleas court in Cuyahoga County. And the record that's made at that hearing locally in front of those boards is the record that the common pleas court uses to decide the case. So it's pretty important to have a proper due process in those hearings.
Okay.
You got 5 more minutes, man? You okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
So, I did the question that you asked me, I would just advise.
appointees or
Write it down on your hard copy,
Yeah,
that you like to see, whatever amendments or changes to areas or any part of
I
the.
am just not a very person for this section, because
It's a difficult
That's okay.
subject.
I don't even, I mean, I just have a different philosophy. Zoning Board of Appeals, that's where people go and ask for, they ask for,
Exceptions.
this is the way the rule is, but they go there to ask to bend the rule. And so I know what you're saying about
They have the right to
keeping
do
it,
that.
keeping it where it's not political, but you know what, it is political, because as soon as you make an allowance for someone to do this here, and you deny someone over here, it's political. It is, so don't have that rule on the books if you're going to allow for it to be bent. That's my philosophy. Get rid of the rule. Get rid of the rule or strictly adhere by it.
Don't appoint her to this.
Yeah, good.
What, what's that?
That's a joke.
No, I just think it confuses things. I really do. That's what I said.
That's the reason we're here, trying to take some of that confusion out.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Danielle, appreciate it.
Yeah, sure, Tyro.
Okay, do we have any other business here for the committee? Since we have no one from the public here, which is pretty outstanding. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, May 6th, and Mayor Headen has elected to be our interviewee. So she should be attending on May the 6th. If there's no more questions, no more concerns, no more issues, is there a motion that this meeting?
He looked at me when he said that.
Is there a motion that this meeting be adjourned?
A second.
Been moved and seconded that this meeting be adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.